more and more of us Brits are cheats and liars. 1 in 5 Brits can now be classed, apparently, as having low integrity, low moral values. And only 10 years ago, it was 1 in 14. So it's gone from 1 in 14 to 1 in 5. And the big thing is benefit fraud. It's up to $2 billion a year now. And so many people who don't even commit it, apparently, according to the survey, don't see anything wrong with it. You're only ripping off the government, who cares?
I think people do that. And you would never think, or you'd never dream of taking something from somebody's house, or if you saw somebody on the street, but if it's online, it's viewed differently. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I think it's still a small portion of the money spent on benefits, because there's often this impression created that everybody is at it. They aren't. And
but 1 in 5 of us have low integrity.
Yeah, well, I mean, as a politician, I'm really on the back foot on this one, so I better be careful what I say. The expensive scandal is still fresh in people's minds, so, I mean, everyone is tainted by this kind of thing. I think there are kind of lots of things going on here. First of all, it's quite interesting, the government announced they were going to get a COVID fraud buster appointed, and you may remember there was a Tory minister, actually, a guy called Lord Agnew, who resigned from the government very dramatically, actually, in the Chamber of the House of Lords. He just sat down and said, I'm resigning, because he didn't think the previous government was doing enough to tackle the COVID fraud. This were all the loans that were dished out, which were very simple for people to get, and obviously people took advantage. So that's one issue. I think the other issue is that the more complicated you make the benefit system, funnily enough, the easier it is to rip it off. I was always in favour, for example, of child benefit. I don't know why George Osborne tinkered with child benefit, because I thought that was, as it were, the perfect benefit. Everybody got it. Yes, rich people got it. But, you know, nobody committed fraud, because everyone who had a kid was entitled to get child benefits. So the simpler you make benefits, weirdly, the less fraud there will be. And the third thing is, if you've got a large pot of money, 250 billion quid, people are going to take a pop at it if they see opportunity.
But I think you've hit on there something. You're talking about if you think, I mean, it's just discussing fraud.
Sickness benefit.
No, but it is. If people see others doing it, they think, why shouldn't I?
Yeah.
And if you read all about the COVID PPE VIP loan, the allegations go around people who are taken away tens of millions, some cases hundreds of millions. Why should I be honest? Why should I be the one?
I think that is a very. I think that's
a very
fair point.
Yeah, but I understand it. I'm losing out while you're all getting free money.
It's interesting. The Department for Work and Pensions are claiming that this benefit fraud is due to society being more tolerant of dishonesty and Brits becoming more willing to cheat and steal. But when we look at the situation that people are in, cost of living crisis, and if they are looking around at a situation that they think is unfair, then there's a bit more going on than that, isn't it? That just society's becoming more dishonest, therefore people think it's OK.
No, I think there's a combination of both things. I think when the economy takes a dip, this kind of crime, rises, and people will, some people will, out of desperation, start to steal. I'm not condoning it, but that's what's happened. But I think Kevin also has an important point about kind of moral leadership from the top. If you keep reading about very, very wealthy people who set up extraordinarily complex tax regimes in order to avoid paying their fair share, there is a kind of tendency, and you see it, I think, much more in America, of very wealthy people somehow feeling it's morally unjust for them to have to pay the taxes that fix the potholes in our roads. And I think that kind of thing does percolate through society.
What strikes me reading this report in detail, it's not just about the money, it's about general attitudes towards honesty and morality. And, you just look across, you mentioned America, you just look across the pond now. Look at the things that we know Trump has done wrong. I mean, his famous quote about, if you're famous, you can do whatever you like with women. And caught on tape boasting about grabbing women in the groin, I mean, horrible stuff. Now, 10 years ago, that would have finished him off. That would have finished off any politician's career. It hasn't made a blind bit of difference. People seem to be prepared to put up with atrocious behaviour.
Well, I think it's kind of... Trump is a unique case, if that doesn't sound too weird, that he just appears to be one of these people for whom this kind of stuff... I still think some of the stuff that Trump has done for any other candidate would see them taken down.
I'll just say the words Boris and Johnson who took lie to a new level. But I think, look, on benefits, though, coming back to it, the DWP highlights what goes in fraud. It's normally less goes in fraud than they pay in mistakes. But also, I wish they would work harder to give benefits to people who don't claim them properly. haven't filled in the correct form or know they can claim them. So I think a sense of perspective. The DWP seems to be acting under old management here, where it wants to create the impression that everybody on benefits is somehow ripping off everybody else.
That the whole system should be looked at to make sure that it's working fairly. When we're talking about shocking numbers, I mean, we've got this report into violence against women this morning, which is our top story, and the figures coming out from that are, you know, truly horrific, aren't they? It's essentially 2 crimes of violence against women every minute, a national emergency, nearly 3,000 crimes recorded every day. And this is going up and up and up. And it's getting to a situation now where women and girls just aren't going to be safe on the streets.
Yeah, these figures are truly terrifying. It's 1 in 12 women will suffer some form of harassment, stalking, sexual violence. 100 women a year are killed by a partner, a former partner, a male they know. That's 1 in 12 suffering every year, and 1 in 20 men are the perpetrators. Now, the age of the perpetrators has come down. It's gone up by
15-year-old boys.
So the average age,
girls.
that's the average age of suspects accused of the sexual assault of girls is 15. That's the average age, and the average age of the victim is 13.
Yeah, absolutely horrific. And what's changed? And there is an impact from social media influencers.
It's got to be social media.
And the people like Andrew Tate, who is now in Romania under arrest with his brother, charged with a lot of horrific offences over there. He pleads his innocence, but he's charged. And it's vile. And you can see young men are subjected to this. It's all right to treat women badly, slap them around. I mean, it is absolutely horrific on the net.
I think it's 2 things on the internet. It's people like Tate, and he's just at the apex of the pyramid of hate and misogyny. It's also porn. You know, there are kids in junior school in the playground looking at exceptionally hard porn where women are being horrendously abused, and it is affecting the way that their brains develop and the way that their attitudes to women are formed.
Yeah, well, it's a very, very worrying report because it's done by the National Association of Police Chiefs, and they say that effectively the rise in violence against women and girls has increased over the last few years by something like 50%. And you're right, I think that the percolation of really unacceptable, abusive content that is available to all on their phones is outrageous. Now, the last government passed an Act of Parliament, the Online Safety Act. Ofcom, the media regulator, has now powers to hold these platforms to account. It's the first time, Europe's done the same thing, America has not. It's the first time these platforms have actually been regulated. A lot of the tech bros said it was a terrible thing to regulate tech. I think it is long overdue to hold these bodies to account in terms of the content that they allow.
It's not just sexual content. I mean, I was reading this in the paper the other day. I think we've discussed this on the show before. But again, junior school playgrounds, there are kids of 10 and 11 looking at stuff that I have avoided all my life, like beheadings. They're watching real beheadings and real electric torture. Not sexual stuff, but straightforward violence. That is going into their forming brains.
That's right, and it is exactly their developing brains, and that's what's so worrying about this report as well. That it's not. This is not something where you're thinking this is behaviour that will gradually die out. Absolutely the opposite. It's behaviour that is percolating down to kids who are younger and younger and younger.
Absolutely,
which makes it so worrying. I mean, the government has appointed Jess Phillips as their minister, and she, of course, a Labour MP, is very, very well known for campaigning on this issue. And every year in Parliament, Jess Phillips reads out every single name of a woman murdered by her partner. And I think the only silver lining to this report is that the police are flagging it up. They say it's basically 1 in 5 crimes is related to violence against women and girls.
That's right, yeah.
And it's a national emergency, and it will be treated seriously.
Well, why do the providers leave it on the platforms? They leave it on the platforms not because they believe in free speech, they make money from it.
Exactly right.
And so the only way to deal with them is to hit them hard on the bottom line.
I 100% agree. I have to say, if we all say this, don't we? If I were Prime Minister, I would be setting up an action force, a task force, this day to address this problem and to find practical ways to, as you say, hit the providers really hard, because you're right, they don't care. And it's nothing to do with free speech. It's to do with clickbait. It's to do with drawing these people onto the sites to make money.
And if the powers are there, they need to be exercised. If the powers aren't strong enough, they need to be fresh powers. It's quite... In that sense, those principles are
it's
quite
simple,
easy.
isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You've just got to go after them because it's just not acceptable. You don't have to be Mary Whitehouse or some moral majority person.
To work out it's going to be an issue.
No, the powers are there.
You've got to cover table legs or anything like that.
Talking about police action, we've got Louisa Rolfe, the Assistant Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, coming in later to talk to us about that. Also coming in, we've got Lisa Squire. Now, she is the mother of Libby Squire, who was sadly murdered. And she goes around to schools now to talk about this issue of violence against women. And one of her points is about reporting these sort of, more minor crimes, for example, the voyeurism, the flashing, the things that are seen as sort of a precursor to then behaviour escalating. And, it's sort of come to a situation where perhaps the police need to take more action over these types of crimes to nip it in the bud to make sure that it's not escalating.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a sort of similar to the kind of broken windows theory that you have to crack down on what you might consider a minor crime. We've got to stop kind of pretending that this is kind of woke to kind of talk about this issue and act on it as quickly as possible. And I'm sure there'll be, weird people out there who think that this report is, why aren't the police dealing with real crime? Well, this is real crime. It makes up a significant proportion of the crime that people...
Well, they're gateway crimes, aren't they? The kind of things that you're talking about, they are gateway crimes.
Exactly.
And so many serious sexual offenders and murderers turn out to have committed these crimes as part of their prepping.
And it will have been, overlooked time after time after time, and perhaps not reported, because when we look at these figures here, let's not forget, these are the ones that are reported, these are the ones that we know about. There will be a vast number of women who don't report it for whatever reason.
They are, which, of course, these figures are picking up because they're using the crime survey rather than crimes that are reported to the police, because so many women, men in other cases, just don't have any confidence if they make a formal complaint to the police, it will be pursued. But I think the answers are much wider than just saying the police have to go after kids. This is cultural. It's in the home, it's in with parents, it's with carers, it's with neighbours, it's in communities, it's in schools too. It's just so much wider, and having that discussion. And it is, part of it is stopping internet providers just putting on filth and allowing kids to access it because they can make money out of it. Why was Andrew Tate given a platform for so long? It was because it was profitable for him and it was profitable for them.
But with any luck, he'll be doing some serious jail time.
Look, I'm not going to shed any tears if he is found guilty in Romania of sexual exploitation, abuse, money laundering, avoiding tax, whatever all the crimes listed against him. No, he's lived a life and profited from being utterly vile.
Now, something else any Prime Minister, I think, incoming would be saying to their team would be, can we just settle these damn disputes? The rail dispute, the doctors' dispute, the junior doctor. Can we just get this sorted? And there are talks today. They're beginning to actually get into face-to-face talks with the doctors, with the train drivers. Do you think the government is simply going to buy this problem off?
I think they will try to, yeah. I mean, they will have to look at the state of the public finances and whether they've got the money, but we've had the teachers in the independent pay review body for the teachers saying 5.5%. The government is cautious, but I think they will, because it's a clean slate and you can move forward.
What about junior doctors?
Junior doctors are asking for a lot more, 35%. So obviously the government cannot meet 35%, but I think they will go some way to meeting the junior doctors' demands. And you're quite right, I think, Richard, that your tone is exactly the kind of tone that I think exists in government. Can we just get this sorted and move on?
In opposition, Labour was saying, right, we just need to get round the table and get it sorted, so that now the pressure is on. Will they be able to deliver that?
But junior doctor disputes have been settled in Scotland. Where the SNP were in control in Holyrood. They've been settled in Wales, although there were some strikes.
Can you remind us can you remember what the terms of
that was money, wasn't it? They gave them a high percentage.
From memory, in Scotland, it was about 12%.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's so good.
I was just under, but I don't recall the more recent.
Wales.
I can't recall the more recent because it was.
12.4.
I think it was
4%.
There we are. Look.
This is the pub quiz to end all pub quizzes.
I'm just going to do myself an injury as I pat myself on the back.
I tell you, Ed, it helps when you've got voices in your ear. That's the thing from our point of view.
In England, the junior doctors have accepted it'll be a multi-year deal, whatever it'll be going forward. The train drivers, which ASLEF, they've not had a pay rise since 2019.
Yeah.
Now, they rejected 2 lots of 4% because of the strings and the conditions that were tied to them. I suspect if There are problems on how train drivers work. Some areas, Sunday working is voluntary. But I think you've got to deal with that separately to a national pay award. If you want to change their contracts, how they work, you have to negotiate that.
And do we think that a Labour government is intrinsically more likely to reach an agreement with the unions, because the accusation was that part of the motivation for these long-running strikes was political, that it was an attack on the government? Now, I'm not saying that I thought that, but that was said. Do you think that there is, if you like, a bit more of a meeting of minds politically between the trade union leaders and a Labour government?
Maybe a bit of that. Also, you get goodwill when you've just been elected, and I think the former UK Conservative government badly mishandled negotiations in the health service and on the railways in particular. There were other problems with teachers and so on, but I think they were just badly handled.
What do you think, Ed?
Well, I think there's it's a more of a mixed, nuanced picture, dare I say it, Kevin. First of all, in terms of the train drivers, for example, I think the Tory government was absolutely right to say, if we are going to give you a pay rise, we want some modernisation. There are some real kind of ancient practices in our railways which need to be modernised to cope with new technology. And I think that actually Victoria Atkins, as the Health Secretary, why are you laughing?
You make it like Casey Jones still on the foot clear. I mean,
you've actually got a bloke with a flag in front of the... Victoria Atkins, I think, moved quite a long way with junior doctors when she was the Health Secretary. And I think the other point is that it may well be that this government, with goodwill and to a certain extent buying off these strikes, may move forward. But they are now, they are in the phase where they are now responsible. We might talk about Rwanda later. It's all very well to say the last government messed everything up, we've sorted it out, but somewhere down the line, there will be further trade disputes with people who want pay rises, which this government cannot afford, and they will discover how difficult it is.
Just for the benefits of our younger viewers, i.e. anybody under 60, Casey Jones was a black and white TV train staff that used to air in Britain in about 1959.
Sorry. He was also a strike breaker, actually. He wasn't a heroic...
He was a strike breaker.
Right. Anyway, there's a four-letter word used.
Well, you mentioned Rwanda. We've given Rwanda as a country about 700 million. It was said early on in the debate about Rwanda that we'd get that money back if we didn't send large numbers over there. And Rwanda said, yeah, that's right. And then a bit later on, the Rwandan government said, well, actually, we're not committed. We don't have to give this money back. And that's where it was left.
But this 700 million, then, is this figure that Yvette Cooper has revealed is what she is calling the true cost of Rwanda, isn't it? And there were secret plans to plough a further 10 billion into the scheme, and Labour just calling it an expensive gimmick that's been a waste of money to taxpayers.
Yeah, again, well, this is exactly my point about the Labour government having to face reality, because on the one hand, yes, you can junk the Rwanda scheme and say it was never going to work, and they're probably right about that, and they're probably right it's a great waste of money. And it may be the practical way forward that you grant an amnesty to asylum seekers, i.e. you process their claims and they're allowed to stay here. Because one of the things that's killing Labour is the huge cost to the hotels to house asylum seekers. But at the same time, if you're James Cleverly, the former Home Secretary, you are entitled to say,
on the show later,
what's plan B then? Where's the deterrent? When word gets round that no one's going to Rwanda, when word gets round that asylum seekers are being processed quickly and allowed to stay in the UK, let's see what happens. So he is entitled, I think, to make that criticism.
So what is the plan, then?
But, of course, James Cleverly, when he was Foreign Secretary, did think it was bat poo, Rwanda. Rishi Sunak, when he was Chancellor, didn't think it would work. It was a Boris Johnson gimmick, and I think we just wasted so much money, so much time, so much energy going up a cul-de-sac. That was never going to work.
Those nightmare situations. Like, what do you do to solve it?
You're right. You've got to try and stop the crossings, and you can do that by smash the gangs, is the Starmer phrase. Easier said than done. For some people, you need safe and legal routes in who are entitled to stay when they get here. And we have all these people. It's between 70 and 90,000 who might be entitled to stay now, but they've just been placed in limbo land because they aren't effectively counted in the system.
So Cooper's calling this a sort of asylum hotel California.
But you never leave.
And people arrive here, and then any decisions have been suspended since March 2023. So meanwhile, the taxpayers...
And part of the answer is you have return agreements, and you return people to their country where you can, when they're not allowed to stay here. Now, there was 10 or 12,000 people from Albania coming over on those boats.
But when it's Iraq and Syria and Afghanistan...
They can't return people there. You just can't.
Do you get the ominous feeling?
But you stop the Albanians coming, which is a NATO country, by just having a deal with
also,
Albania.
there are a lot of people coming from Vietnam. Now, you may have your criticisms of the Vietnamese government, but the idea that there are hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese wanting political asylum in the UK is actually ludicrous.
No, my son lives and works in Vietnam and has for years.
Really? So did my brother.
Yeah, well, there we are. We'll put them in touch together. Anyway, meanwhile, dealing with the problem. No.
What I was going to say was, I mean, quite clearly, the last government failed completely to deal with illegal immigration. It was a complete failure. Don't you get the feeling that, as the days roll by and the boats still come, that this new government is going to fail too, but in a different way?
Yeah. I think saying stop the boats was always... look, it's inaccurate and it's wrong. You can try and reduce the boats, but you're not going to halt them completely. No. At one time, people would come in lorries and hiding in trains. But then security got so tight, that's been massively reduced. Still goes on, but it's massively reduced, so they find another way. I was very surprised that it took so long for the smugglers to get boats across the channel, because we saw that vast movement from about 2016, actually a bit before, wasn't it, across the Mediterranean. Vast movement. It was probably around the time that we bombed Libya into smithereens.
Yeah, so is it going to take sort of, international collaboration on this? Was it last week that we saw the first boat being ushered back to France?
Yeah,
and
it's
then we have a deal that they go back, but then we take a certain number of asylum seekers
as a massively
payoff
complicated operation, and it's got so much... so many obstacles to it. You saw Keir Starmer talking to Giorgia Meloni, the Italian Prime Minister, at the big European summit they held last week. Look, you've got people coming here as economic migrants. There's no doubt about that. Coming back to our Vietnamese friends, there are lots of people coming to Britain, frankly, to make a living. That kind of thing needs to be stopped.
But let's not forget, we do need, immigration here.
We need, well, as you know, we've got record legal immigration
that we need
coming into the UK, but people shouldn't be coming here illegally. You've got genuine people who are asylum seekers, particularly people coming from places like Iraq and Afghanistan. So it is very complicated, but you've got to work with these countries. You've got to work with the Vietnamese government, for example, to stop people. Just as Kevin pointed out, we work with the Albanian government to stop this huge influx of illegal immigration from Albania.
Fail at this. Kamala Harris failed completely to deal with immigration. That was her brief.
But if only the UK, though, was a member of a big European family of nations, if one could exist, where you had a deal, got the Dublin Agreement, you could return people to France. Yeah. If only we were in that.
Nigel Farage, when he was last on the show, proposed putting basically gunboats in the Channel, attaching hooks to these boats as they entered British waters and towing them back to France.
Well, that's exactly what I would say if I was sitting in the pub and just mouthing off rather than thinking through the complexities and difficulties of having to deal with an issue like this.
Is that the Clacton cuckoo who's gone over to the US, where he hasn't yet met Donald Trump, his really great friend?
Has he not met Donald yet?
Yes, we haven't seen a picture.
I thought he went to give him emotional support.
Yeah, well, he looks like he's getting emotional support from elsewhere now.
We were talking earlier, weren't we, about James Cleverly. We do have him on later. And the speculation now about who's going to be the new Tory leader. We're going to find out in November, and the speculation that James Cleverly could be one of those that throws his hat in the ring. There seems to be quite, considering the number of Conservative MPs was dramatically reduced, there seems to be a lot of names swirling round. It might be quicker to say who's not going to be
exactly. I mean, I never got into the Tory cabinet, and at one point the Tory cabinet was about 35 people. It was really hard not to be in a Tory cabinet, and now it's going to be really hard not to be a leadership contender. And I think the numbers will grow out of FOMO. I just think people will be sitting in the House Commons tea room saying, "Why am I not a leadership contender? I'm going to put my hat in the ring." People, you need 10 nominations. They'll probably swap names and make sure that everyone gets nominated.
Who would you vote for?
I would put James Cleverly very near the top of my list. Why? I want somebody who's normal.
I'm sure he'll be thrilled with that endorsement.
Can we have a normal leader of the Tory party,
Very near the top of your list because he's normal.
Yeah, exactly. There are three normal candidates. Victoria Atkins, Mel Stride and James Cleverly. Right. Those are the three I would...
Why does Cleverly get the edge?
Because I think he's quite down to earth. I think he's pretty modest. I think he is hard-working. I think people didn't have huge expectations of him, and I think he was a good Foreign Secretary and a good Home Secretary. I don't know James Cleverly very well, but every time I see him kind of perform as a politician, I think he's impressive.
Tom Tugendhat, not one of yours, the former Security Minister?
So, Kevin, what type of person do you think is needed? Because is it someone who's going to appeal to the voters that left to go to Reform, or is it someone who's going to be a centrist, who's going to kind of, toe that middle line, keep the party together.
I kind of wonder why anyone wants the job after the election.
Someone has to do it, though,
and the
don't
hard
they?
slog ahead. But I think it's somebody who needs to... Well, you've got to decide what the Conservative Party is for, who it wants to represent. And so I remember that most people are somewhere in the middle, so you need to appeal them. And if you just race after Farage, who did very well at the election with his 14, 15%, his 5 MPs, you're not going to win a general election. I really just can't. I just can't see that. Cleverly would not be a bad shout. Victoria Atkins went a bit tonto in the House of Commons the other day, rushing up to the dispatch box. Which
they are all going
Hold
slightly...
off for her behaviour when she's trying to speak when she shouldn't have.
But I'm surprised you didn't... Tom Tugendhat at your...
He's very slight.
What were you going to say? They're all going...
Former army officer.
What were you going to say? They're all going slightly what?
They are all going slightly tonto. So having been a bigged up James Cleverly, I think some of his Twitter action is a bit OTT in terms of his criticism of the government. I think it should be more measured. It's quite hard to attack a government that's been in power for 3 weeks.
But
this is all your fault.
But you ultimately have to appeal to a Tory membership that is very reformist. It did last time round. It picked Liz Truss. That went well.
Shall we finish over the pond? It's a sign, isn't it, of how little we know about Kamala Harris. That part of the debate yesterday, certainly in media circles, was how to pronounce her name. Is it Kamala?
Well, there was a debate on this show, Rich.
We had a small debate on this show.
We've come down on the side of Kamala, haven't we?
It's finally come out as Kamala.
Yes, because apparently...
That's hard work.
I'm going for Harris.
Kamala.
Just to avoid...
I'm going for Vice President.
Well, we were told yesterday it was Kamala to rhyme with Pamela.
Pamela, but then in her autobiography, which was published in 2019, the lady herself says it's pronounced to rhyme with comma, so it's Kamala. Anyway.
Well, that's it. We'll use Kamala.
Pardon?
We'll call her what she calls herself.
Yes.
So anyway, that's by way of an entree. She's raised in 24 hours the equivalent of £50 million in donations. The money is pouring.
I think it's 62 million now, isn't it? In 24 hours.
Is it?
I want Joe Biden to endorse me for president, then I can retire. Marvellous.
Look, I have concerns about big money dominating politics in the UK and the US, but that's a phenomenal amount of cash to waste on TV adverts attacking your opponent. Sorry, I know we're on TV and the bills are paid by adverts, but nevertheless...
Well, it's going to be TV adverts in 6 swing states.
So she has now secured the support of enough Democratic delegates to put her on track to formally become the party's nominee. That's according to her campaign. But if we look at the Star today, according to the asparagus psychic they're quoting, the next president will be Michelle Obama. Have we seen this one?
Well, that's incredible breaking news.
I know, I believe we've left this right to the end. I apologise.
We've been wasting all this time working out how to pronounce Kamala, and it's Michelle all the time.
I think
to the asparagus psychic.
The Star got the lettuce right with Truss, but I think their asparagus is a bit round the bend.
Just in the last 30 seconds, what do we think Kamala, is going to... What's going to be her policy? Is it going to be to talk about what she would do for America, or is it just going to be to take down Trump?
She's a prosecutor and he's a felon.
Right.
That's the campaign.
That'll be the campaign.
You know, in a way, she's many things... if you're a woman and you're seeing your rights to control your reproduction and abortion being taken away, if you're an American of colour and you see all these racist attacks, look, I mean, it's made for her.
And
the
prosecutor against the felon, the woman against the sexual predator.
And it's I've noticed that apparently in the past Trump has attacked her for her laugh. Which is an extraordinary thing. I don't know what he's talking about. Her laugh is perfectly normal.
Well, apparently, I mean, the thing is, she's an unknown quantity, particularly to us on this side of the pond. Despite being vice president, she's not been that visible, and so we missed all this. But apparently, she laughs in inappropriate places and has a cackle. That's all I know.
Yeah, well, that's terrible. They're also attacking her for not having children.
Yeah,
which I think is pretty.
Well,
she's a stepmom, and apparently the family's pretty amazing.
It's going to be damned interesting.
We'll find out more about her as it goes on, won't we? Thank you very much. Good to see you this morning.